Americans hoping for some relief in the form of tax cuts.
You're looking live right now at the Senate floor, where in 15 minutes, senators will start arriving for 2 votes on tax cuts. But will we see a compromise? Former Minnesota Senator Norm Coleman joins us live from Minnesota this morning. Good to see you, Senator.
Good to be here.
So these votes are going to start in a couple of minutes here, and your former colleague Ben Nelson basically said, it's kind of a waste of time. Will we see either of these pass, and what's the point of having all these votes, passing what they did in the House yesterday, if none has a chance of passing?
Well, first of all, I can tell you senators do not like being in Washington in session on the Senate floor on Saturday morning. That's something that it's not business as usual. And that may have been Tom Coburn's intention. This is not a business as usual time. 16 straight months of unemployment over 9.5%, longer than the Great Depression. So we're not going to, this is theater because neither of the Schumer or the Baucus amendments are going to pass. In the end, there is going to be a 2-year extension of the Bush tax cuts. I'm very confident of that based on my conversation with House leadership, my understanding of where the president is at, where the Republican is at, and by the way, where the American public was at as their voice was heard on November 2nd. So, by the way, theater isn't always a waste of time. Theater is actually entertaining. The Democrats are setting up their talking points for 2012, tax cuts for the rich. But I think the Republicans are pretty strong and pretty confident in understanding, as the president, I believe, understands, you don't raise taxes during the time of an economic recession. You don't raise taxes when the unemployment rate keeps rising.
But, Senator, if there is this deal that you just alluded to, and if it's already in the works and it's going to happen, what about those unemployment benefits? What about the ceiling being raised from $250,000 for families to $1 million? Are those part of the deal?
Well, 2 things. One, with unemployment, Republicans are not against continuing unemployment. They simply want to pay for it. And I think part of what's being worked out here is, one, extending the Bush tax cuts. Again, we're not talking about a tax cut. We're talking about not raising taxes during a time of economic recession, not raising taxes on the folks who create jobs. This is not about millionaires who vacation in the south of France. This is about the 60 to 70% of the small business job creators. That's what this is about. So, and again, I believe Geithner understands that. Larry Summers, the president's economic advisors, understand that. I believe that was communicated at the White House in the session earlier this week. So in the end, what you're going to get is your 2-year extension. I think the question is, how do you deal with things like unemployment, extension of that, but simply finding a way to pay for it? The Republicans are in a strong position. When you hear the rhetoric of Menendez and others, they talk about negotiating with terrorism. I think there is often an inverse relationship between the strength and the intensity of your verbiage and the strength of your position. The Republicans are in a strong position. The president, I believe, understands you don't raise taxes. The Republicans understand that, and I believe our side certainly thinks that was the message that came out of November 2nd.
Well, it sure will be entertaining, as you suggested, so we appreciate you being with us this morning.
And theater's allowed to be entertaining, by the way. That's not a bad thing. But in the end, you got to get something done, and I believe they will before everybody goes home for Christmas.
Thank you for being with us, Senator.
Thanks for that note of optimism there. We appreciate it.